Hello, everybody. This is Sharonda, and this is my YouTube studio as well as my podcast on Spreaker.com, Spiritual Sense. In this podcast, I go over a variety of topics in regards to the paranormal, angels, demons, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, hauntings, and things of that nature, pagan belief systems, and religious practices. And so today is Wednesday, which is December the 23rd. And today I'm going to speak on a topic in regards to something I mentioned in previous um, episodes regarding the New Age movement. And if you have been viewing in or will be viewing in to this podcast, I also incorporate tarot card reading into the podcast, and I will proceed with my tarot card reading in the next episode. Okay. So I received revelation that was a big movement that was transpiring in the younger population, your millennials. And I know millennials can go up to almost 4 years old, but the younger population, meaning like your 20s, maybe mid 20s to 30-year old population in regards to the New Age movement. Um, it was revealed to me that there is a lot of these persons in this movement that is taking on a new sensibility about life and religion and belief. Um, it also led me to know that a lot of these individuals um, are actually getting off into the occultism as well, where it be by way of witchcraft, Wiccan, um, whatever other practices they are out there today. So I'm going to discuss on what is the New Age movement. It's not nothing new. It may be new to you, but the New Age movement have been around for quite some time. So I'm going to discuss the New Age movement, metaphysics, as well as agnostic and atheism, and what all of these terms are, and what does the practice of these things are. So first, before I begin, I'd like to state that this podcast is for entertainment purposes. That means if this is not something that you may be of interest to, I do have other podcasts that may be of interest. Holistic Health being one of those podcasts where I go over natural remedies and your old wise type of remedies on your minor health concerns that may be beneficial to you. I also have Health Matters where I go over a variety of topics in regards to your health and well-being. And I have Talk Radio, which I will begin to get together, and I think I may do an episode of Talk Radio today as well, because it's been, I know, a year better since I've incorporated my Talk Radio podcasting. Okay. So saying that to say, if it just so happens that the things that I mentioned in this podcast is in relation to what's going on in your life, that maybe by chance or even by happenstance. And what I mean by that is, I read the articles, I hear things on the news and, just word of mouth or whatever. I really don't go looking and researching and snooping and prying into somebody's personal business just to in turn put it out in the forefront. A lot of times these things that are already ingrained in me that I may speak on at certain given situations. Okay. Now, so I'm just going to give you an account of my own personal journey. Okay. At the age of 25, I was at a crossroad in my life. At that time, I was in a relationship that, was presented with some unfavorable things to occur. I was in a career that I was I felt to be very stressful to me. And nothing I did was right. It was always something. I was met with one adversity versus the next. And that's when I began to do some soul searching as to it's not me. Because when I began to reach out to other individuals who were of a different um, background, whether that be ethnically, race wise, even social class wise, um, and if you want to get a little bit more vain, visual wise, and it was kind of like a tally, taking a tally, and getting accounts and of some of the similar things, and that's when it became apparent to me. Although you do have some control in most situations in life, I do. Some situations you have a lot of control, but there are times where you are put in situations where there is no control. It's out of control, it's out of order. It never was intended for you to get no further than. It's the point. This is what it is. Take it for what it is. You got to learn to adapt or deal with it. Okay. And so being facing with that and having to face the music over and over and over again, it began to weigh on my spirit, and in turn internalize and mentally to the world and to people who would see me, my closest colleagues and contacts, that I was crazy or whatever the case may be. Okay. So in going on my journey, I began to do some deep soul searching. I did some deep soul searching, and in the midst of doing this soul search, I began to inquire about other things, belief. Why are we here? What is the purpose of us being here? About God. Is there truly a God, and what is God? And developing a relationship with God. And I was placed in circumstances where it was a lot of hyper religiosity amongst the career that I was in, that I, still to this day am in. And so I'm saying that to say, I began to reach out to, several different churches to try to get answers. And I also, in turn, began to look inner and then on the external. Okay, maybe I need to work on not only my physical, what's on the inside, but as well as what's on the outside. And I noticed that things did get better for me in terms of that. Long as I was at the beck and call of someone else's desires or things that were to their benefit. So again, I began to feel a sense of, loneliness and lack of purpose. And it was a heavy weight and a heavy burden on me. And it was a heavy weight and a burden on me that I wasn't good enough. The only thing I was good for is what I can provide and what I can do. And that's when I had to sit down at the age of, I want to say it was 28 before I become 29. Turned 29. And I, asked God, I said, look, something has to give. You brought me this far, and to me, it seemed like you just brought me to the water and you just said, okay, and just left me out there. So that's what I mean when I say I was at a crossroads in my life, because literally it was, the information was coming in tremendously. I mean, in terms of the ability to think and see the thoughts. I mean, it was like on a consistent basis. And it almost weighed on my mind. It did. Um, it did weigh on my mind. And it, I'll be honest about it. I had a breakdown, and I have had several breakdowns. I have. And so that's when I discovered metaphysics. Okay. Metaphysics is and let me, before I go into New Age, I am going to pull up metaphysics, and I'm going to read exactly what that is to those who may have heard of metaphysics, but have not really, give much thought or even inquiry in regards to it. So metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that studies the first principles of being, identity, and change, space and time, causality, necessity, and possibility. It includes questions about the nature of consciousness and the relationship between mind and matter. The word metaphysics comes from two Greek words that together literally means after or behind or among, the study of the natural. It has been suggested that the term might have been coined by a first century editor who assembled various small selections of Aristotle's works into the treatise we know now by the name metaphysics. Okay, so I did begin to get off into metaphysics. I had got a book, Everything You Ever Wanted. I think that's what's the title of the book. I don't know, it's around here somewhere. But I kid you not, in me purchasing and reading that book, I began to notice that the things that you read and purchase, it would expand. Like it's kind of like a portal, and it will begin to open up right before your eyes just by, allowing that information, or it coming in to know with that information is what I'm getting at. And so I began to wonder, is these things happening to me because of me purchasing this book, or is this actually God? Like, I honestly believe that everything is God and God is everything, but you would know the difference when it's a message as opposed to like somebody is doing something because you did this, kind of, so to speak, versus if just by happenstance that these things began to happen. Meaning, because of me buying this book and reading the things in the book, are these things happening because of that, or because I bought the book and a lot of marketing comes into place and people want to come and interact to mark my mentality? You catch my drift? So in other words, I began to notice, and I said, well, God, give me a sign to where I would know the difference. Like I would know that, yes, I believe and I say everything is God and God is everything, but to be able to discern when it's truly God versus somebody just trying to capture my attention, and because of a jealous spirit or a Jezebel spirit, or wanting you to go off and everything is about them, and they're marking my intellect. Because oftentimes people would do that, so to speak. They will. Those spirits will do that. And so as I've gotten older, either way it goes, it's still God. Even if they deliberately do it he had to make me see that it's under the influence of a mischievous, nuisance, demonic spirit. Now, hear me out. Hear me out and hear me well. I don't mean to say, because some people can be demonic. I don't feel like annoying and a mischievous or annoying or a nuisance spirit is all the time demonic. So let me change that and rephrase that, because you can be somebody that is a nuisance or an annoyance or irritant or what have you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are demonic. You could, I just put it this way, demonic like is what I put it at. Okay. Someone who is looking to cause harm, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that is a demon. Now that is demonic. Now, when I say demonic or demon, I do use that interchangeably, meaning on a spiritual sense or someone who has been inhabited by demonic spirits. Okay, so let me make that change. Okay, now, so now, so that has forefronted and rewinding back, that forefronted me into getting off into yoga because I was restless. I couldn't sleep. I'm not a big person who believe heavily in taking medication, particularly on a consistent basis for minor things. Okay. And so I began to incorporate yoga. I began to get off into metaphysics. I also began to, get in some exercise type of thing to try to change not only how I felt on the inside, but as well as on the outside, because I never was a person that was real big on external. Okay. At all. And so I did began to meditate. And in doing that, I don't know. I just put it this way. I don't know if it's because of, what I was told about meditation, and this is not of our culture, supposedly, and this is not something that we are customarily to doing. But when I did that, I started to, spirits began to speak to me, and I'm talking about you would just hear it. And I don't feel like meditation is a bad thing per se. I do feel like when you meditate, just as well as pray, meditate, chant, and things of that nature, you get yourself in a altered state of being. You have to be very careful when you get yourself in those state of being, and that is not a me trying to make more out of a situation or sensationalize a situation. I know from personal experience, when you get yourself in those altered states of being, you have to be very careful. I just put it that way. And that is no joke. And as they say, curiosity killed the cat. To those who may be curious to do so, I'm just take heed from me, because I did not get off into these with curiosity, meaning with the intent to invoke something. I got into metaphysics and meditation at that point in time as an inquisitive as to what inquisitive means, as to how I should go in my life, how I should venture in my life, and where my life was taking me. And as a result of that, when it began to impermanate in, it began to weigh on my thoughts. And as a result, it became apparent to me that the message that was being conveyed to me was a hard pill to swallow. And I just put it that way because I'm not going to indulge all of the things that was told to me in essence, but it was a hard pill to swallow. I just put it that way. Once he gets you in that state, he's going to reveal things to you. He's going to break your heart. I had an incident that happened a couple of years ago where things were revealed to me. And if I let it and if I allowed it to take over me, I would have died. If I had allowed it to bother me, I would have died. Okay. So, but let's get back to what the main topic is. So today's the main topic is to speak on, again, metaphysics, the New Age movement with metaphysics and things of that nature. I'm going to touch on atheism as well as agnostic. What is agnostic? Okay. So we're going to begin with atheism. And as you know, I like to go on Wikipedia. I am not going to read everything there is to read off of Wikipedia, but I will touch bases on the main things in regards to Wikipedia's depiction. So it says atheism in the broadest sense is an absence of belief in the existence of deities. Less broadly, atheism is a rejection of the belief that any deity exists. In an even narrower sense, atheism is specifically the position that there are no deities. Atheism is contrasted with theism, which in its most general form is the belief that at least one deity exists. So basically, an atheist is a person who has what they say free thought, skeptical inquiry, the subsequent increase in the criticism of religion. This isn't as it says that the first individuals to identify themselves using this word atheist lived in the 18th century during the Age of Enlightenment. It says the French Revolution, noted for its unprecedented atheism, witnessed the first significant political movement in history to advocate for the supremacy of human reason. So, in other words, someone who doesn't believe in a God or gods, as we know a God or gods to be. I would give you my account because with me being an empath, it was a point in time that I took on that phase or that impression of atheism, where I was at a state of total disillusion, a numbness, spiritual apathy, and I didn't believe in it. I didn't want to hear anything in reference to a God. I was angry at a point in time in my life. I'll be honest about it. It was a long stage that I went through, a phase in my life where I would get angry. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to know nothing about it. I think that it's normal. more so than the average person would want to admit to or even speak on. That is normal. Okay. So it goes a little bit further as to, atheisms and the different arguments and things of that nature. I'm not going to go into so many discussions and debates as to what atheism is, because I do feel like it's a term, like a sub-term, so to speak. Like we're going to call it that, but ultimately it's a state of disbelief. Lack of faith is what that is, but we coin it a different way. More than the average person will let on people to know or believe, essentially. So let's proceed to agnostic, which is just so happened to be under the atheism. So agnosticism, I should say, says meaning without knowledge. So what this is a philosophical view, generally meaning that the existence and or nature of any specific God, entity, spirituality, or any ultimate reality is unknown or unknown to humanity. They may, on the other hand, claim that they just themselves do not possess knowledge of a greater power or the divine, so cannot justify committing to a belief until shown a reason to believe otherwise. Either way, they would claim neither belief nor disbelief. This, however, does not always mean that one has given up their quest for knowledge or that the knowledge is unattainable. So I just put it this way, because as I'm sitting here speaking, it did reveal to me agnostic is not knowing, meaning ignorance to it. That's just a scientific, more tactful way of saying that someone is spiritually ignorant to the relationship with God. That's what that is. And this is going to be more or less amongst those individuals who are in situations where there is some spiritual apathy, so to speak, by way of, someone who is quote unquote cursed. So it just, I kid you not, as I'm sitting here speaking, it just put it into my being as to what that is. Somebody who has been cursed. This is what I was brought here for. This is only what I am good for. And there is no God in my world, so to speak. And I'm speaking in third person. That means this is what the spirit is just alert me to put out. Like, this is my reality. And this is what I was brought here for. And if you come to these people and begin to speak about a God, they're looking at you like, get away from me. I don't know what that is. A concept of a God. Are you serious? I haven't ate in the last 3 or 4 days. Probably haven't drank in the last, 2 or 3 days or whatever. And you speak to me about a God? I will listen after you give me a meal and get me out of my situation. And I'll be likely to go, oh, okay, yeah. So that's what it just revealed to me as I sat here and I was reading this. I kid you not. And somehow, when I do my spiritual sense episode, it will prompt me into my tarot card reading, which I'm going to close this episode out, and because I feel as though there is a message from the motherland that I need to convey today, is what I feel like. And because an image just come in my head, and oftentimes this is how the spirit and spirituality works in my world when I begin to work these cards. Okay, so again, I'm going to close out this new age agnostic, atheism, as well as metaphysics discussion, as I mentioned, in regards to the new age movement that I felt like was on the you know more left of the spectrum in terms of your millennials, in regards to taking on this new age way of being. Me being at that particular time in my life, I took on a new age way of thinking and viewing things when I was in my mid 20s. Okay. And I feel as though as history repeats itself, life repeats itself. And because I've, um, have been in the company with several people and able to, pick up on similarities, I'm able to know that that's what that is. Okay. So I do thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you're more than welcome to comment below. Until then, you have a safe and wonderful day. Good day.